So today we're going to look at addition and subtraction of fractions. And we're going to jump right into an example. So here I've got simplify 3/4 plus 1/6. So our steps, we're going to find an equivalent fraction for 3/4 and 1/6. They need to have the same denominator. We're going to rewrite using equivalent fractions with the same denominator, and then we're simply going to add the numerators and leave the denominators. And we're going to do it step by step. So step 1, okay, we want to find a common denominator for 3/4 and 1/6. And we can actually just use our lowest common multiple just like we did last unit. And we're looking for a denominator, so we're looking at 4 and 6. We can do our factor trees. Okay, what do they have in common? Well, they have in common a 2, and then we have the leftovers. So the lowest common multiple of 4 and 6 is equal to 2. We take 1 for the pair, and then we take the leftovers, which happens to equal 12. So our lowest common multiple, which also in this case is called our lowest common denominator, will be 12. Now, with that, what we're going to do is we want to rewrite 3/4 using the denominator of 12. So how do I go from 4 to 12? I multiply by 3. So I'm going to do the same thing with the top one. So 3 multiplied by 3 is 9. So I now can replace 3/4 with 9/12. Now I have to do the same thing with 1/6. How can I make 1/6 have a denominator of 12? And notice that to get from 6 to 12, I would multiply this by 2. And to get from 1 to whatever, I'm also going to multiply by 2. Whatever I do to the top, I do to the bottom. And therefore, I have 2 here. So my 1/6 can now be rewritten as 2/12. Alright, so sorry, this was step 2. And step 3. So our question started off with 3/4 plus 1/6. And we just found the equivalent fractions. So 3/4 can be written as 9/12, and 1/6 can be written as 2/12. And the reason we've done this is because we have to have the same denominators, okay? If we're adding things, for example, say we have and so finally with our step 3, we just add the numerator, 9 plus 2. It's still over 12. It's still out of 12. And in fact, I get 11/12. And this is my solution. Fractions with the same denominator are referred to as common denominators. And we use our method of lowest common multiples. Alright, let's do another example. This time we're going to have subtraction. So it's the same steps. So the first thing, we need to find equivalent fractions for 3/4 and 1/6 with the same denominator. Then we're going to rewrite using equivalent fractions with the same denominator. And then because it's a subtraction, we simply subtract the numerator and leave the denominator. Alright, so I have 7/8 and 1/6. We're trying to find a common denominator. So our denominators are 8 and 6, and we want to find the lowest common multiple, just like before. So this is 2 and 4, 2 and 2, and 2 and 3. What do they have in common? They both have a 2 in common. So their lowest common multiple of 8 and 6, we only take the pair once, and then we use the leftovers. And in fact, the lowest common multiple of this, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, so now we need to rewrite using the equivalent fractions with the same denominator. So this was step 1, and this is step 2. So how can I rewrite 7/8 knowing that the denominator that I want is 24? Well, to get from 8 to 24, I would multiply 8 by 3. Now whatever I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. 7 times 3 is 21. Alright, so I have my first fraction in my algebraic expression. I've changed it. I've finished step 2 for the first fraction. I have to do the second one, so I had 1/6. And how do I go from 1/6 to a denominator of 24? Well, 6 multiplied by 4 is 24. Whatever I do to the bottom, I must also do to the top, and therefore I must multiply by 4 here as well. 1 times 4 is 4. So I now have my second fraction rewritten with a common denominator. Alright, our third step. So we want to, I guess we have to finish rewriting this. So before what we had was, let's look up. Maybe I'll just put a little mark over here and we can have some more room. It was 7/8 minus 1/6. But I just found the common denominator for 7/8, and 8 and 6 is 24, and 7/8 was rewritten as 21 over 24, and 1/6 was rewritten as 4 over 24. Now because it's subtraction, all we're going to do is we subtract the numerators, the denominator stays the same. So this becomes 21 minus 4 over 24, which is equal to 17 over 24. And this right here is in fact my answer. I'm going to smush this a little bit so that we have a little bit more room. There we go. And we're done this one. Alright, so I've got 2 more examples, little harder. They're involving mixed numbers now. So remember that 3 and 1/2 can be rewritten as 3 plus a half. So if I want to add these things together, what I'm going to do is I have 3 plus 1/2 plus 5 plus 1/3. Alright, well, some things that are really easy to simplify right away are our whole numbers. Okay, so 3 plus 5 is 8. But then I have this 1/2 and this 1/3. And remember that 8 is just the same thing as 8 over 1. Okay, any number divided by 1 is itself. So I still need to find a common denominator. And my lowest common multiple of 1, 2, and 3, and these all come from the denominator. Okay, so I'm using to find the lowest common denominator, I use my method of lowest common multiple. Now this one's really nice because we have 1, we have 2 which is prime, and we have 3 which is prime. So they don't have anything in common besides the 1. And therefore, our lowest common multiple is 2 times 3, which is just 6. Okay, so I have a little work because I have to figure out how to get 8 over 1 to something over 6. Well, to get from 1 to 6, I multiplied by 6. And therefore, here I would also multiply by 6. So what is 8 multiplied by 6? Well, if you struggle with it a little bit, remember that 8 times 5 is 40, and then I add one more 8 onto it, and I get 48. So I've rewritten my first fraction here as 48 over 6. My second fraction is 1/2. And again, we need a common denominator, and we found that the lowest common denominator is 6. To get from 2 to 6, I would have to multiply the 2 by 3, and whatever I do on the top, or on the bottom, I'm also going to do on the top, and therefore 1 multiplied by 3 is 3. So I've now written my second fraction as 3/6. And my last fraction is 1/3. So how do I take 1/3 and write it over a denominator of 6, well, I would have to multiply 3 by 2, to get 6, and whatever I do to the bottom, I also must do to the top, and 1 times 2 is 2. So I've now rewritten 1/3 as 2/6. Well, taking all this, I'm going to maybe just move this over a little bit, just so that you guys see everything in line. Oh, we got it all. Excellent. Alright, well, 8/1, we've just found out that we can rewrite this as 48/6. 1/2, we just saw, can be written as 3/6. And 1/3 can be rewritten as 12/6. They now all have the same denominator, and therefore all we have to do is we add the numerators together, and they're all still over the same denominator. And 48 plus 3 plus 2 is 53/6. And here is our solution. Alright, last one. Okay, so I can rewrite this as 2 plus 1/4 plus 2 plus 1/3. Oh, and then this is a big step here. We have this minus 2/5. So really this is minus 2 and minus 2/5. Having these negatives is really important because we're taking away 2/5 from everything else. And that's why we have this negative, which a lot of us will forget about, so be very careful. Now, right away, things that are easy to add together are our whole numbers. Add and subtract. So essentially what I have is 2 plus 2 minus 2 plus 1/4 plus 1/3 minus 2/5. Alright, well notice that 2 plus 2 is 4, minus 2 is 2. So here what I really have is 2 plus 1/4 plus 1/3 minus 2/5. And remember that I can rewrite this 2 as 2/1. And so now I'm trying to find the lowest common multiple for all of them, which is the lowest common denominator. So just as a reminder, to find the lowest common denominator, we're going to use our lowest common multiple method. And we're looking for the lowest common multiple of 1, 4, 3, and 5. Now, none of these numbers have anything in common, and therefore we just have the leftovers. None of them have anything in common, so we can just multiply 4 by 3 by 5. Well, I see right away 3 times 5 is 15. 15 times 4 is 60. Alright, so our lowest common multiple, which is going to be our lowest common denominator, is 60. So I need to write 2/1 as something over 60. Okay, well, obviously this one's really easy. I'm just multiplying by 60, and therefore this would be 120. Whatever I do to the top, I do to the bottom. Alright, so that was our first one here. I can rewrite it as 120/60. My second one is 1/4. How can I get from 4 to 60? Well, it's kind of nice because I can go back over to my lowest common multiple and see 4 times 3 times 5 is 60. So really 4 times 15 is 60. And therefore, if I multiply 4 by 15, I get 60. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And therefore I get 15 here. And now I've rewritten 1/4 in an equivalent fraction, as 15/60. Alright, we've got 2 more to do. 1/3. I want to write it with a denominator of 60. And the nice thing again is if I go back over here, so I'm just erasing that color, notice that I can reorder this number as 3 times 4 times 5. So 3 multiplied by 4 times 5, well, 4 times 5 is 20, so 3 multiplied by 20 is 60. 1 multiplied by 20 is 20. I've now rewritten 1/3 as 20 over 60. And our last one, we have 2/5. Oops, put the box in the wrong spot. We're trying to get it so that it has a denominator of 60. Well, 5 multiplied by, and if you look over here, so 5 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 4 is 60. Well, 12 multiplied by 5 is 60. And therefore, I'm multiplying by 12. I'm multiplying by 12, and I get 24 over 60. Alright, well, we wrote 2 over 1. We rewrote it, and its equivalent fraction was 120 over 60. 1/4, I can rewrite as 15 over 60. 1/3, I can rewrite as 20 over 60. And, oh, we lost that number there. And I can write 2/5 as 24 over 60. So they all have the same denominator. So I'm just going to add and subtract them where I need to. So I have 120 plus 15 plus 20 minus 24. Okay, well, you can do this in a few steps, or you can do it all at once. It's up to you. You can put it in a line. I'll do the subtraction after. So I've got 5, and then I have 5 again, and I have 1. So if I add up these three, I have 155 minus 24 over 60. And then again, if you need to use the long subtraction or addition, that's okay. So 5 minus 4 is 1, 5 minus 2 is 3, and we bring down the 1, and my final answer is 131 over 60. And that's our final answer.